good evening. Tonight, allow your thoughts to drift far away from the modern world. Leave behind the sound of traffic, glowing screens, and busy schedules. Instead, imagine that you have stepped into the year 1715. The first light of dawn slowly rises over a cold English harbor. A thin blanket of mist hangs above the quiet water. Dozens of tall wooden sailing ships gently rise and fall with the tide, their masts reaching high into the pale morning sky. Seagulls circle overhead, their cries echoing across the docks as waves softly strike against weathered timber. The air smells of salt, wet rope, fresh-cut wood, and tar used to seal the ships against the sea. Everywhere you look, people are already working. Strong dock workers roll heavy barrels filled with sugar, tobacco, and rum toward waiting merchant ships. Sailors climb ropes with practiced speed. Blacksmiths hammer glowing iron into anchors and nails. Merchants carefully count crates of valuable cargo before long voyages across the Atlantic Ocean. At first glance, it seems like a place full of opportunity. But appearances can be deceiving. For the ordinary sailor living in the early 18th century, life was rarely comfortable. Every voyage demanded months of exhausting labor. A sailor's day often began long before sunrise and ended only after darkness covered the sea. They hauled enormous ropes thicker than a man's arm. They climbed towering masts that swayed high above the waves. During violent storms, they balance on narrow wooden yards while freezing rain soaked their clothes and fierce winds threatened to throw them into the ocean below. There were no safety harnesses, no rescue boats waiting nearby. One careless step could end a man's life forever. Even when the sea remained calm, danger never truly disappeared. Disease spread easily aboard crowded wooden ships. Fresh drinking water slowly became stale. Salted meat spoiled. Hard biscuits filled with insects often became the only food available after weeks at sea. Many sailors suffered from hunger, fever, infected wounds, and exhaustion before finally reaching land again. Yet, despite all this hardship, the rewards were surprisingly small. Merchant captains frequently delayed wages for months. Sometimes sailors returned home only to discover they had earned almost nothing. Others found excuses to reduce their pay or refused to pay them altogether. The sea demanded everything. It promised very little. Now imagine yourself standing among these men. Your boots are worn. Your hands are rough from years of pulling ropes and carrying cargo. Your clothes smell of seawater that never completely dries. You have worked honestly for years, yet your pockets remain almost empty. Each morning you search the docks hoping another merchant captain needs crew. Each evening you return disappointed. As another cold sunset approaches, you sit quietly beside the harbor watching the ships. Some are leaving for Africa. Others are sailing toward the Caribbean. Some will never return. The waves gently strike the wooden piers while lanterns slowly begin to glow along the waterfront. It is here, during one ordinary evening, that everything begins to change. A stranger quietly walks toward you. He is not dressed like a wealthy merchant, nor does he wear the polished uniform of a Royal Navy officer. His coat is faded by years beneath the sun. His beard is touched with gray. His face carries the marks of countless voyages across dangerous seas. Without introducing himself, he calmly sits beside you. For several moments, neither of you speaks. The harbor grows quieter. The last merchant crews finish loading their cargo. Then the stranger finally breaks the silence. He asks only one simple question. Tell me, are you tired of making other men rich? You hesitate. Before answering, you study his weathered face once more. There is confidence in his voice. Not the confidence of a king. Not the confidence of a soldier. But the quiet confidence of a man who has survived where many others did not. You slowly nod. The stranger smiles. Then he says something that thousands of desperate sailors heard during the Golden Age of Piracy. If you want fair pay, if you want a vote, if you want freedom,
"Come with us." For many men living in 1715, those words were impossible to ignore. You do not answer immediately. Instead, you continue watching the harbor as darkness slowly settles across the water. Lanterns begin glowing aboard the merchant ships, their reflections dancing gently across the waves. Somewhere nearby, a ship's bell rangs through the evening air. The stranger waits patiently. He seems in no hurry. Finally, curiosity overcomes your caution. "Who are you?" you ask quietly. The man smiles faintly. "Just another sailor," he replies. "The only difference is, I no longer sail for merchants." Those few words reveal everything. He is a pirate. Not the kind described in colorful stories with buried treasure and endless adventure. A real pirate. The sort of man whose name could make merchants nervous and naval officers determined. Yet he does not appear cruel. He looks tired, experienced, like someone who has survived many difficult years upon the sea. He begins explaining why so many ordinary sailors abandoned merchant ships during the early 18th century. Life aboard a merchant vessel, he says, could be brutally unfair. Captains often ruled with absolute authority. Punishments were severe. Food was poor. Pay was uncertain. The crew obeyed every order without question. A single mistake could mean a whipping. Complaints were ignored. Many sailors believed they were treated as little more than tools. Pirate ships, however, often worked differently. Before every voyage, the crew agreed upon a written set of rules known as the Articles. Every man accepted these rules before sailing. The captain was respected, but his power was not unlimited. Important decisions could sometimes be discussed by the crew. The quartermaster represented the sailors and helped divide supplies and treasure fairly. If valuable cargo was captured, each crew member usually received an agreed share. No one became rich overnight, but many earned more than they ever had aboard merchant vessels. The stranger makes no attempt to hide the dangers. He speaks honestly. "If the Navy catches us," he says calmly, "there will be no mercy." Everyone knows what that means. Piracy was considered one of the greatest crimes against international trade. Captured pirates could expect public trials. Many were sentenced to death. Their executions were meant as warnings to anyone considering the same path. The risks were enormous. Yet, for men who already faced hunger, poverty, and hopelessness, those dangers sometimes seemed distant compared to the hardships of ordinary life. The stranger points toward a dark silhouette anchored beyond the harbor. At first, you notice only its tall masts. Then, as moonlight breaks through the clouds, the outline becomes clearer. A sturdy brigantine rests quietly offshore. Its hull is weathered by countless voyages. Its sails are furled tightly against the night breeze. Small lanterns glow along the deck. Crew members move silently as they prepare for another journey. No music. No shouting. Just experienced sailors calmly doing their work. The stranger rises slowly. "We're leaving before sunrise. If you stay here," he gestures toward the crowded docks, "tomorrow will look exactly like today." Then he turns toward the waiting boat without another word. You remain seated for several minutes. Your thoughts race. Everything you have ever been taught tells you to refuse. Pirates are criminals, outlaws, enemies of every nation. Yet another thought refuses to disappear. What has honesty truly given you? Years of hard labor, empty pockets, an uncertain future. I look once more at the merchant ships. Tomorrow they will sail away carrying fortunes and cargo. The sailors aboard them will return months later with little to show for their efforts. Perhaps history is more complicated than simple stories of heroes and villains. Perhaps many pirates were not born evil. Perhaps they were simply desperate men searching for another path. The cold night wind blows across the harbor. Somewhere in the distance, waves strike against wooden hulls. The stranger's small rowing boat is almost out of sight now. You take one deep breath. Then, without saying a word to anyone, you stand. Your boots echo softly across the weathered dock as you begin walking toward the waiting boat. Every step carries you farther from the life you have always known, and closer to a world from which very few men ever returned unchanged. The small rowing boat rocks gently as you climb aboard. No one speaks. The only sounds are the steady splash of wooden oars cutting through the dark water and the distant creaking of ships resting in the harbor. Above you, thousands of stars shine across the clear night sky. Without the bright lights of modern cities, the heavens seem endless. Ahead, the pirate ship grows larger with every passing minute. Its towering masts rise like dark trees against the moonlight. Thick ropes stretch in every direction. Heavy anchors hang beside the hull, and weathered timbers carry the scars of storms that have crossed the Atlantic many times before. As your boat reaches the ship, a rope ladder is lowered. You climb carefully. Your hands grip the rough hemp rope while the sea gently moves beneath your feet. When you step onto the deck, no one welcomes you with cheers. No dramatic speeches. No celebration. Instead, the crew simply nods before returning to their work. Everyone has a job. Everyone understands that a ship survives only when every sailor does his part. A broad-shouldered man carrying a lantern approaches. His expression is calm but serious. He introduces himself as the
The first morning at sea begins long before the sun rises above the horizon. The ship is already alive with movement. Boots strike against the wooden deck. Ropes creak under tension. Canvas sails snap gently in the morning wind. The smell of salt water mixes with fresh tar and damp timber as another day begins somewhere far from land. There is no bell reminding sailors to wake. No one needs it. Every member of the crew already understands that life at sea follows its own rhythm. If one man fails to do his duty, the entire ship can suffer. You quickly discover that a pirate's life is nothing like the stories told in busy taverns. There are no piles of gold waiting below deck, no endless celebrations. Most of the day is simply work, hard, physical work. The quartermaster hands you your first assignment. Together with several experienced sailors, you begin coiling thick hemp ropes that were left scattered across the deck after yesterday's departure. Each rope is surprisingly heavy. Your hands quickly become sore as rough fibers scrape against your skin. Nearby, another crew repairs a torn sail damaged during an earlier voyage. High above, sailors balance confidently on narrow wooden yards, moving with the ease of men who have spent years climbing masts hundreds of feet above the sea. Watching them is almost as frightening as climbing yourself, yet none of them appear afraid. For them, this has become ordinary life. As the morning grows brighter, the captain gathers everyone near the main mast. He speaks calmly. There is no shouting. Today's course will take the ship across one of the busiest trade routes in the Caribbean. Merchant vessels carrying sugar, tobacco, cocoa, and silver often pass through these waters. But there is another warning. British naval ships patrol these same seas. If one appears, speed and discipline will matter more than courage. The meeting lasts only a few minutes. Soon, everyone returns to work. The sea is calm today. Gentle waves carry the ship steadily forward. Flying fish leap across the water while white seabirds circle overhead. For a brief moment, it almost feels peaceful. But appearances at sea can change without warning. You soon learn another important lesson. Pirates spend far more time waiting than fighting. Hours pass with nothing visible except the endless horizon. Some sailors repair clothing, others sharpen cutlasses or clean flintlock pistols. The ship's carpenter carefully replaces worn wooden planks before they become dangerous. Even during peaceful weather, maintenance never ends. A neglected ship is often more dangerous than an enemy. By midday, the cook announces the first meal. Lunch is simple: salted beef, hard biscuits, a little dried peas. Fresh water is carefully measured because every drop matters. Food must last for weeks, sometimes months. There are no markets in the middle of the Atlantic. Every barrel aboard the ship is precious. While eating, older pirates begin sharing stories. Not tales of buried treasure, not legends of sea monsters. Instead, they speak about storms, disease, shipwrecks, friends who never returned home. One gray-haired sailor quietly says something you will never forget. The sea doesn't care whether you're a pirate or a king. No one laughs, because everyone knows he is right. The afternoon passes slowly. The bright Caribbean sun climbs higher into the sky, and the wooden deck beneath your boots grows warm. There is little shade aboard the ship, and after only a few hours, your clothes are damp with sweat mixed with sea salt. You begin to understand why experienced sailors move so carefully. Every step matters. A loose rope stretched across the deck can send a man crashing to the planks. A swinging boom can break bones in an instant. Even during perfect weather, a ship is never completely safe. The quartermaster notices that you are watching the older sailors closely. He smiles and says quietly, "Don't fight the ship. Learn to move with her." At first, his words seem strange, but as the hours pass, they begin to make sense. The ship never truly stops moving. It rises. It falls. It leans gently from side to side.
Experienced sailors do not resist those movements. Instead, they balance naturally, almost as though they have become part of the vessel itself. Soon you are given another task. Several heavy bronze cannons line both sides of the ship. Each one must be inspected every single day. The crew checks the wooden wheels beneath them. They examine the thick ropes that prevent the cannons from flying backward when fired. Powder barrels are kept dry below deck. Flintlocks are cleaned carefully. A single spark in the wrong place could destroy the entire ship. Safety is never ignored. Nearby, another group sharpens cutlasses. The blades catch the afternoon sunlight as whetstones slide slowly across the steel. Despite popular legends, pirates did not enjoy fighting. Every battle carried enormous risk. A wounded sailor could never be replaced easily. A damaged mast could end an entire voyage. The greatest victory was often the one achieved without bloodshed. Late in the afternoon, the lookout suddenly calls from high above. "Sail on the horizon." Every conversation immediately stops. The captain raises his brass telescope. All eyes turn toward the distant sea. Far away, almost hidden by the bright sunlight, a tiny white sail becomes visible. No one speaks. No one knows whether it is a harmless fishing vessel, a wealthy merchant ship, or a heavily armed naval frigate. The captain watches patiently. Rushing into danger has ended many pirate careers. For several long minutes, the ship continues its course while experienced officers study the distant vessel. Finally, the captain lowers the telescope. "Merchant ship," he says calmly. A quiet feeling of excitement spreads through the crew. No cheering, no shouting, only focused preparation. Orders are given immediately. The sails are adjusted to gain speed. The helmsman slowly changes course. The pirate ship begins closing the distance. You feel your heart beating faster. This is the moment every new recruit imagines. Yet nothing looks like the stories told in taverns. No wild screaming, no reckless charge. Everything happens with surprising discipline. The cook quickly extinguishes unnecessary fires. Loose equipment is secured. Extra power is prepared. The surgeon quietly opens his medical chest without saying a word. He has seen enough battles to know that injuries often arrive without warning. As the merchant vessel grows larger, you finally see men moving across its deck. They have noticed your ship as well. The black flag has not yet been raised. There is still time. Sometimes a merchant captain surrenders peacefully. Sometimes he runs. Sometimes he chooses to fight. No one aboard your ship can predict what will happen next. The only certainty is that the next few hours may change every sailor's life. The sea becomes strangely quiet. Even the wind seems softer. The distance between the two ships grows smaller with every passing minute. And for the very first time since joining the crew, you realize that the peaceful life of a pirate can disappear in a single heartbeat. The merchant ship slowly grows larger against the afternoon sky. At first, it appears peaceful. Its white sails are full of wind, and the sunlight reflects from its polished wooden hull. From a distance, it looks like every other trading vessel crossing the Caribbean. But everyone aboard your ship knows that appearances can be misleading. The captain continues watching through his brass telescope. He studies the ship's flag. He counts the cannons visible along its sides. He watches the movement of the sailors on deck. Every small detail matters. A careless attack could cause dozens of lives. Finally, he lowers the telescope. "It carries cargo," he says quietly, "but it isn't heavily armed." The crew nods. No one celebrates. This is simply another day at sea. The helmsman turns the wheel a few degrees. Your ship begins to approach from behind, using the wind to gain speed without wasting unnecessary effort. The distance grows smaller, half a mile, then a quarter. Soon, the merchant sailors can clearly see your vessel. They stop their work. Some point towards your ship. Others hurry to their captain. A bell begins ringing aboard the merchant vessel. The warning has been given. The captain beside you gives another calm order. Raise the colors. Slowly, several sailors pull on heavy ropes. A dark flag climbs toward the top of the mast. As it catches the wind, it unfolds above the ship. The famous black flag is now clearly visible. Across the water, everything changes. The merchant crew immediately understands what they are facing. For several long moments, nothing happens. Both ships continue moving through the calm sea. Only the sound of water and wind fills the silence. Then something unexpected happens. The merchant captain orders his sails lowered. One by one, they begin slowing the ship. There will be no battle today. The pirate captain quietly smiles. This captain is wise. He knows that fighting would only bring suffering to his crew. Many merchant captains surrendered peacefully because protecting lives was more important than protecting cargo. As the two ships drift closer together, grappling lines are prepared. Boards are placed between the vessels. A small group of pirates crosses first, not with wild shouting, not with reckless violence. Instead, they move carefully and professionally. The merchant crew stands aside. No one resists. The cargo hold is opened. Inside are barrels of sugar, rolls of fine cloth, tobacco, spices, and several locked chests containing silver coins meant for distant colonies. Everything is recorded carefully. The quartermaster writes each valuable item into a ledger. This surprises you. You expected chaos. Instead, you witness organization. Nothing is taken without counting. Nothing disappears into private pockets. The crew follows rules because every sailor expects an equal share later. By sunset, the transfer is complete. The merchant captain and his crew are allowed to keep enough food and water to continue their journey safely. Your captain believes unnecessary cruelty creates unnecessary enemies. Soon the ropes are released. The two ships slowly separate. The merchant vessel disappears toward the western horizon. No cannon was fired. No blood was spilled. Only the cargo has changed hands. As darkness falls, lanterns are lit across your deck. The atmosphere is strangely quiet. Some sailors repair equipment. Others prepare the evening meal. The cook serves another simple supper of salted meat, biscuits, and watered beer. After the eating, the quartermaster gathers the crew. He opens the ledger and calmly explains exactly what was captured. Every sailor listens. No one interrupts. Trust aboard a pirate ship depends upon fairness. When every man believes the treasure will be divided honestly, discipline becomes much easier to maintain. You look around the deck. Only yesterday these men were strangers. Now they are your crew. The sea stretches endlessly beneath the sky filled with stars. A cool breeze moves through the sails. Somewhere beyond the darkness, hundreds of merchant ships continue their journeys. Some carry silk, some carry gold, some carry ordinary supplies. And somewhere beyond the horizon, Royal Navy warships are already searching for pirates like you. You realize something important. The greatest danger is not today's success. It is believing that success will last forever. Many pirates enjoyed a few lucky years. Very few enjoyed long lives. As the lantern beside you burns lower, the waves gently strike the hull once again. Tomorrow will bring another sunrise, another voyage, another choice, and perhaps another story waiting somewhere beyond the endless sea.
Morning arrives quietly. The first rays of sunlight spread across the endless Caribbean Sea, turning the gentle waves into sheets of shimmering gold. The cool night air slowly disappears as warmth begins to fill the deck. Around you, the crew is already awake. Some sailors coil heavy ropes with practiced hands. Others scrub the wooden deck using buckets of seawater. A pair of young crewmen climb high into the rigging to inspect yesterday's repaired sails, while the ship's carpenter walks slowly across the deck, listening carefully to every plank beneath his boots. A wooden ship is always speaking. It creaks. It groans. It sighs beneath the weight of the sea. Experienced sailors learn to understand these sounds. A strange creak may mean a loose mast. A deep crack could warn of damaged timber hidden below the deck. Ignoring such signs could cost every man aboard his life. The captain walks silently from bow to stern, inspecting everything. He runs his hand across thick ropes. He studies the condition of every sail. He pauses beside each cannon. Nothing escapes his attention. A pirate captain cannot afford carelessness. Far from land, the sea offers no second chances. After breakfast, the quartermaster gathers the crew once again. Today's work is simple. No attacks, no treasure, only maintenance. Some new sailors seem disappointed. They imagined piracy as endless excitement. The older crew quietly smiles. They know the truth. Most pirate voyages were surprisingly ordinary. Days passed without seeing another ship. Sometimes entire weeks went by with nothing except water in every direction. During these quiet days, the crew worked constantly. Sails were patched, weapons cleaned, barrels repaired, food counted, fresh water measured carefully. Every task mattered, because when a storm finally arrived, there would be no time for repairs. You're assigned to help the ship's carpenter. He is an older man with rough hands and calm eyes. Unlike the captain, he rarely speaks. Instead, he teaches through example. Together, you inspect the wooden hull from the inside. The smell of oak, tar, and damp timber fills the lower deck. Tiny streams of seawater sometimes seep through narrow gaps between the planks. This is completely normal. Every wooden sailing ship leaks. Crew members regularly operate hand pumps to remove the water collecting inside the hull. Hour after hour, day after day, someone is always pumping. It is exhausting work.
Yet without it, the ship would slowly become heavier and less stable. The carpenter taps several beams gently with a wooden hammer. He listens carefully. A healthy beam produces one sound. Rotten timber produces another. His trained ears notice differences invisible to everyone else. Satisfied, he nods. The ship remains strong. By late morning, the sea becomes almost perfectly calm. The sails hang quietly. The wind fades until the ocean resembles polished glass. Progress becomes painfully slow. The captain does not complain. Nature decides the ship's speed, not the crew. While waiting for stronger winds, several sailors begin teaching you essential survival skills. One demonstrates how to tie strong knots that will never slip under pressure. Another explains how to recognize dangerous weather simply by watching clouds. An older navigator points toward the distant sky. "You see those clouds?" You nod. "They're beautiful now." He smiles. "But tomorrow, they may try to kill us." Life at sea teaches patience. It teaches observation. Most importantly, it teaches respect. Because every sailor eventually learns one simple truth. The greatest enemy of every pirate was never another ship. It was always the sea itself. For most of the afternoon, the sea remains perfectly still. The sails hang almost motionless above your head. The pirate ship glides slowly across the Caribbean as though floating on polished glass. Every sound seems louder than before. The creaking of timber, the gentle splash of water against the hull, and the distant cries of seabirds are all carried across the quiet ocean. Some of the crew use this peaceful time to mend torn clothing. Others polish brass navigation instruments until they shine in the sunlight. The ship's cook prepares the evening meal while humming an old sailor song that almost disappears beneath the steady rhythm of the waves. It is difficult to imagine that this calm ocean could ever become dangerous. But the older sailors know better. Late in the afternoon, the navigator looks toward the western horizon. His expression changes. The bright blue sky is slowly disappearing behind a line of dark clouds. At first, they seem harmless. Small. Distant. Almost beautiful. Yet the captain notices them immediately. Without raising his voice, he gives a series of short orders. The peaceful atmosphere disappears at once. Every sailor begins moving with purpose. The larger sails are partially lowered. Loose barrels are secured with thick ropes. Extra lanterns are stored below deck. The carpenter checks every hatch leading into the cargo hold. The cook extinguishes the fire inside the galley. No one wastes time asking questions. Everyone already understands what is coming. The wind arrives first. It begins as nothing more than a cool breeze. Then it grows stronger. Within minutes, the calm sea develops long rolling waves that lift the ship higher and higher. The masts begin to sway. The ropes tighten until they produce an alarming sound. Dark clouds spread across the sky, hiding the afternoon sun. The air becomes strangely heavy. Even the seabirds disappear. The captain stands beside the helmsman, watching the horizon without speaking. His face remains calm. Years at sea have taught him that panic solves nothing. Only preparation matters. Rain begins falling. At first, only a few drops strike the deck. Then the sky opens. Sheets of cold water pour over the ship. Within moments, every sailor is completely soaked. Visibility becomes poor. The horizon vanishes behind curtains of rain. The ocean changes from deep blue to dark gray. The pirate ship rises sharply upon enormous waves before sliding into deep valleys between them. Each movement feels larger than the last. You grip a thick rope tightly. Without it, standing would be almost impossible. Lightning suddenly flashes across the sky. For one brilliant second, the entire ocean shines silver. Every mast, every sail, every wave. Then darkness returns. A few seconds later, thunder rolls across the sea like distant cannon fire. The storm has fully arrived. The captain shouts his first loud command of the day. Reef the mainsail. Several experienced sailors immediately climb into the rigging despite the violent wind. Watching them is almost unbelievable. The ship pitches wildly beneath their feet. Rain lashes their faces. Yet they continue climbing with calm determination. High above the deck, they pull heavy ropes, folding part of the enormous sail to reduce the force of the wind. Every movement must be perfect. One mistake could send a sailor crashing into the sea below. Down on deck, other crew members struggle to secure everything that might break loose. Heavy barrels are tied tightly. Cannons are checked once again. The pumps begin working as seawater pours into the lower hull. Every man has a task. Every task matters. You suddenly understand why the older sailors spent so many quiet days repairing ropes, inspecting planks, and maintaining equipment. Those ordinary days were preparing for this extraordinary one. The storm grows stronger. Towering waves crash against the bow, sending freezing water across the deck. The ship groans beneath the weight of the sea. Yet it continues moving forward. Slowly. Steadily. As though refusing to surrender. You look toward the captain once more. He remains at the wheel. His coat is soaked. Rain runs down his face. But his hands never leave the polished wood. In this moment, you realize something important. The greatest treasure aboard this ship is not gold. It is experience. Because only experience can guide a crew safely through a night like this. The storm continues through the night. Hours passed without anyone knowing exactly what time it is. The moon and stars remain hidden behind thick black clouds. Rain falls without mercy, and every wave seems determined to tear the ship apart. Still, no one gives up. The crew works as one. Whenever seawater rushes across the deck, sailors grab the ropes and pull themselves back to their feet. Others continue pumping water from the lower hull, their arms aching with exhaustion. The carpenter moves from beam to beam with a lantern protected beneath his coat. He checks every support inside the ship. Every bolt. Every plank. Every mast. If even one important beam fails, the entire vessel could be lost before sunrise. The captain never leaves the wheel. His eyes remain fixed on the sea ahead. He knows something every experienced sailor eventually learns. You cannot defeat the ocean. You can only survive it. Near midnight, the wind reaches its greatest strength. The pirate ship climbs an enormous wall of water. For one breathtaking moment, it seems suspended above the sea itself. Then, the bow crashes downward. The impact shakes every timber aboard. Several barrels break loose despite the ropes holding them. A sailor slips across the soaked deck. Before he reaches the railing, two nearby crewmen catch him by the arms and pull him back to safety. No words are spoken. There is no time. Everyone simply returns to work. This is how lives are saved at sea. Not through heroics, but through teamwork. Slowly, almost without anyone noticing, the storm begins to weaken. The rain.
Several peaceful days pass after the storm. The sea once again becomes calm, and life aboard the pirate ship settles into its familiar rhythm. Sunrise follows sunrise, each one looking almost identical to the last. The crew wakes before dawn, eats a simple breakfast, repairs equipment, and watches the endless horizon. At first, the routine feels repetitive, but gradually you begin to understand that survival depends upon routine. A sailor who neglects a rope today may lose a mast tomorrow. A cannon left uncleaned may fail during battle. A barrel left open may spoil the ship's precious drinking water. Nothing aboard a wooden sailing ship is unimportant. Each small task helps keep everyone alive. After breakfast, the captain calls for navigation lessons. The ship's navigator unrolls a large sea chart across a sturdy wooden table. Unlike modern maps, this one is drawn entirely by hand. Its edges are worn. Ink has faded in places. Tiny handwritten notes mark dangerous reefs, hidden sandbars, and reliable harbors visited by generations of sailors. The navigator places a brass compass beside the chart. "This," he says quietly, "is more valuable than gold." Several younger pirates smile, believing he must be joking. He shakes his head. "If you lose your treasure, you become poor. If you lose your direction, you disappear forever." His words silence the group. He explains that long before satellites or modern instruments, sailors relied upon nature itself: the rising sun, the setting stars, the direction of the wind, the color of the water. Even the flight of seabirds could reveal whether land was nearby. Every experienced navigator carried years of knowledge inside his mind. A mistake of only a few degrees could send an entire ship hundreds of miles away from its intended course. You spend the morning learning to recognize important constellations used by sailors: the North Star, the Southern Cross, ancient guides that had directed ships safely across oceans for centuries. The lessons are interrupted when the lookout suddenly points toward the sky. A flock of seabirds circles high above. The navigator smiles. "Land," he says confidently. Sure enough, several hours later, a faint green line appears along the horizon. Slowly, a tropical island rises from the sea. Palm trees sway gently in the warm breeze. White beaches shine beneath the afternoon sun. Crystal clear water surrounds the rocky coastline.
The crew does not cheer. Fresh islands mean fresh opportunities. The captain decides to anchor offshore for a few hours, not to hide, not to attack, simply to collect supplies. Several rowing boats are lowered into the calm water. You join one of them. As the boat reaches the shore, your boots sink into warm white sand. After many days aboard the ship, standing on solid ground feels strangely unfamiliar. The island is peaceful. Bright tropical birds sing from the trees. Fresh water flows from a small stream hidden among the rocks. The crew quickly begins working. Some fill wooden barrels with clean drinking water. Others gather coconuts, bananas, and tropical fruit. A few experienced hunters disappear quietly into the forest searching for wild pigs. Nothing is wasted. Everything collected today may become essential during the next long voyage. For a few peaceful hours, the dangers of piracy seem very far away. The rowing boats rest quietly along the white sandy beach. For the first time in many days, the gentle movement beneath your feet has disappeared. Standing on solid ground feels almost unfamiliar. Several sailors laugh as they take a few careful steps, their legs still expecting the rolling motion of the sea. The captain wastes no time. Every hour spent ashore carries risk. A passing merchant ship could spot the pirate vessel anchored offshore, or worse, a Royal Navy patrol could appear without warning. The crew separates into small working groups. One group continues filling heavy oak barrels with cool spring water flowing from the rocks. Another gathers fallen coconuts and bunches of bananas from beneath the tall palm trees. Others collect dry branches for cooking fires and repairs aboard the ship. You are sent with 3 experienced sailors deeper into the forest. The air changes immediately. The salty smell of the sea is replaced by the rich scent of damp earth, tropical flowers, and fresh leaves. Bright green vines hang between ancient trees, while colorful birds fly overhead, filling the forest with unfamiliar songs. One of the older sailors raises his hand, signaling everyone to stop. Far ahead, movement. A small group of wild pigs searches the forest floor for food. The men remain perfectly still. Nobody speaks. Slowly, 2 hunters move into position with long muskets. A single shot echoes through the quiet jungle. The birds suddenly burst into the sky. Within moments, the work is finished. The animal will provide fresh meat for the crew, something they have not enjoyed in many weeks. Nothing is wasted. The sailors quietly thank nature before preparing the meat for transport back to the beach. As you return, you notice another group collecting medicinal plants. One sailor explains that the ship's surgeon often searches for herbs during every stop. Fresh leaves can reduce fever. Certain roots help clean wounds. Other plants ease pain during long voyages. Long before modern medicine, knowledge of nature often meant the difference between life and death. By late afternoon, the beach becomes busy once again. Barrels of fresh water stand ready beside piles of fruit, bundles of firewood, and carefully wrapped supplies. Nearby, the ship's carpenter examines several tall trees. He studies the strength of their trunks before selecting suitable wood for future repairs. A healthy ship depends on healthy timber. Even on land, the work never truly ends. As the sun begins lowering toward the horizon, the captain allows the crew 1 short hour to rest. Several sailors remove their boots and sit quietly beside the gentle waves. Others wash salt from their faces in the warm sea. A few simply lie beneath the shade of palm trees, enjoying the silence. There are no shouted orders, no rushing, only the peaceful sound of the ocean reaching the shore. Soon, a small cooking fire is lit. Fresh pork slowly roasts above glowing coals, while the cook prepares a simple stew using vegetables gathered from the island. The smell spreads across the beach. Many sailors smile. After weeks of salted meat and hard biscuits, tonight's meal feels like a feast. As darkness slowly covers the island, the crew gathers around the fire. Lantern light dances across tired faces weathered by years beneath the Caribbean sun. Someone begins playing a small fiddle. The melody is slow and gentle, not lively, not cheerful, simply comforting. One of the oldest pirates begins telling stories, not about buried treasure, not about monsters, but about ordinary sailors he once knew. Men who crossed oceans, men who never became famous, men who spent their entire lives following the wind wherever it carried them. He pauses for a moment before quietly saying, "The sea remembers every sailor, even when history does not." For several moments, nobody answers. Everyone simply watches the fire as sparks drift upward into the star-filled sky. Far beyond the beach, the pirate ship rests peacefully at anchor, gently rising and falling with the evening tide. Tomorrow, the voyage will continue. But tonight, for a few precious hours, the crew enjoys something far more valuable than treasure. A quiet moment of peace. The fire burns low as the evening grows quieter. One by one, the sailors finish their meals and carefully pack away every useful item. Nothing is left behind. Empty barrels are loaded back into the rowing boats. Bundles of fresh wood are tied together with thick rope. The remaining fruit is wrapped in cloth to protect it during the voyage. The captain walks slowly along the beach, looking back toward the jungle one last time. "This island has treated us well," he says softly. "But the sea is where we belong." Before dawn, the crew is awake once again. The stars are still bright overhead as the last boats leave the shore. Gentle waves carry them back toward the waiting pirate ship, which rests silently beyond the reef. You climb the rope ladder with muscles that are still sore from yesterday's work. As soon as everyone is aboard, the anchor is raised. The great wooden capstan turns slowly as sailors push their long bars together. Inch by inch, the heavy iron anchor rises from the seafloor, dripping with seawater and tangled seaweed. The helmsman takes his position. The navigator studies the wind. The captain raises one hand. Set the mainsail. The crew moves immediately. Canvas unfolds high above the deck. The morning breeze catches the sails and the ship begins moving once again. The island slowly disappears behind the horizon, until only a faint green shape remains against the rising sun. Life at sea returns to its familiar rhythm. The cook prepares breakfast. The carpenter inspected yesterday's repairs. The quartermaster checks the food stores. Every barrel of fresh water collected from the island is counted carefully. The voyage continues. By midday, the wind becomes stronger. The pirate ship moves swiftly across deep blue water. Flying fish leap beside the bow, while dolphins briefly race alongside the hull before disappearing beneath the waves. Several sailors take this peaceful moment to repair fishing nets. Others sit quietly sharpening their cutlasses. No one speaks very much. Experienced sailors know that calm days rarely last forever. Late in the afternoon, the lookout suddenly shouts from the crow's nest. Sails to the south. Every head turns at once. The captain calmly reaches for his brass telescope. He studies the distant horizon for several long moments. Then he hands the telescope to the navigator. Neither man speaks immediately. Finally, the navigator lowers the glass. There are 3 ships. Merchant vessels. Large ones. The captain nods slowly. Spanish. A quiet murmur spreads across the deck. Spanish merchant ships often carried valuable cargo from the Americas. Silver from the mines. Sugar. Cocoa. Indigo. Fine cloth. Sometimes even chests filled with newly minted coins. But they were rarely alone. The captain continues watching. There should be an escort. Everyone waits. Another minute passes. Then, far beyond the merchant ships, a 4th sail appears. Larger. Heavier. Moving with confidence. The navigator quietly sighs. There it is. A Spanish warship. Its tall sides carry rows of heavy cannons. Its crew is almost certainly larger than yours. The pirate captain closes his telescope. No attack. No one argues. Every sailor understands. Greed has destroyed many pirate crews. A foolish captain might chase treasure without considering the danger. A wise captain knows when to sail away. The helmsman changes course slightly. The pirate ship quietly slips eastward, remaining just beyond the convoy's sight. No battle. No cannon fire. Only patience. You watch the distant ships slowly disappear into the evening haze. At first you feel disappointed. So much treasure. So close, yet impossible to reach. The older sailor beside you notices your expression. He smiles. Remember today. You look toward him. The richest pirate is usually the one who survives. His words stay with you long after the convoy disappears beyond the horizon. As sunset paints the Caribbean sky with deep shades of orange and crimson, the pirate ship sails onward. Not toward glory. Not toward easy riches. But toward another ordinary day upon the sea. Because the greatest secret of pirate life was never constant adventure. It was knowing when not to fight. And sometimes, the smartest victory was simply living to see another sunrise.
The morning begins with a steady breeze flowing across the Caribbean Sea. After choosing not to attack the heavily protected Spanish convoy, the pirate ship has sailed through the night. Now, under the pale golden light of dawn, the ocean once again feels peaceful. Gentle waves roll beneath the hull, and the sails billow quietly overhead. The disappointment of yesterday has already faded. Among experienced pirates, patience is considered just as valuable as courage. The captain gathers several officers near the ship's wheel. Spread across a large oak table is an old sea chart, its edges worn from years of use. Small marks cover the map, showing common trade routes used by English, French, Dutch, and Spanish merchant ships. The navigator points toward a narrow passage between 2 small Caribbean islands. Merchant captains prefer this route, he explains. The currents are calm. The wind is reliable. And the journey is shorter. The captain nods. If we wait there, the sea may bring opportunity to us. Instead of chasing ships across hundreds of miles of open ocean, many pirate captains simply waited near busy trade routes. It required less effort, less risk, and often brought better results. The pirate ship quietly changes course. No one rushes. The crew has learned that success at sea often belongs to those who can wait. Throughout the morning, every sailor returns to familiar duties. The carpenter replaces worn wooden pegs holding part of the railing together. The cook carefully counts the remaining food supplies. Fresh fruit collected from the highland is already beginning to ripen. Several bananas have turned soft. The cook decides they should be eaten today before they spoil. Food management is a constant challenge aboard every sailing ship. Nothing can be wasted. The ship's surgeon quietly prepares fresh herbal medicines gathered during the island stop. He hangs bundles of dried leaves from the ceiling of his small cabin. Some reduce fever. Others help clean wounds. A few ease stomach pain caused by weeks of eating salted food. Medicine during the 18th century was simple. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it did not. But every ship depended upon its surgeon's experience. Near midday, the sea becomes unusually busy. Far in the distance, several merchant ships can be seen crossing the horizon. Most remain far beyond reach. The captain ignores them. He waits patiently for the right opportunity. You begin to understand another lesson about pirate life. Stories often describe pirates as reckless hunters chasing every ship they saw. Reality was very different. Every attack carried enormous risks. Gunpowder was limited. Food was limited. Healthy sailors were limited. Even repairing battle damage could take weeks. A wise captain chose only battles that offered a reasonable chance of success. As the afternoon sun climbs higher into the sky, the lookout suddenly raises his telescope. For several seconds he remains perfectly still. Then he calls down. "Single sail." Every sailor pauses. The captain slowly climbs onto a small platform near the wheel. He studies the distant ship through polished brass lenses. Unlike yesterday, there is only one vessel. No escort, no warship, no second mast appearing behind the horizon. Only a lone merchant brig making steady progress toward the narrow channel between the islands. The captain quietly smiles. This one may be worth watching. No one celebrates. The crew simply begins preparing the ship. Not for battle, for possibility. The cannons are inspected one final time. Powder remains dry. The grappling hooks are checked carefully. Extra rope is laid neatly across the deck. The black flag remains hidden. For now. There is no reason to reveal their identity too early. The pirate ship continues drifting almost silently with the wind. From a distance, it appears to be just another ordinary merchant vessel crossing the Caribbean. The trap has begun. And somewhere beyond the bright afternoon horizon, an unsuspecting captain is sailing directly toward it. The lone merchant brig continues sailing steadily toward the narrow channel. From this distance, it appears completely unaware that another ship has quietly changed course behind it. Its white sails remain full of wind, and the crew continues their ordinary work, believing this will be another peaceful day at sea. Aboard your pirate ship, the atmosphere changes. No one shouts, no one runs. Every movement is calm and deliberate. The captain knows that surprise is often more powerful than cannon fire. He quietly gathers the officers near the wheel. "We stay downwind," he says. "If they cannot see our true speed, they will not suspect us." The helmsman nods and adjusts the course only slightly. The pirate ship begins moving like a silent shadow across the water. From a distance, it looks harmless. Several sailors remove anything that might reveal their identity. The black flag remains folded. Extra weapons are carried below deck. Even the crew changes its appearance. Some pirates put on old merchant jackets instead of their usual seacoats. Others cover their cutlasses with pieces of canvas. If the merchant captain glances through his telescope, he will see only another trading vessel crossing the Caribbean. The disguise is simple, but effective. Hours pass. Little by little, the distance between the two ships becomes smaller. The lookout speaks quietly from above. Half a mile. The captain raises his telescope. He studies every detail. The merchant brig is carrying barrels stacked along the deck. Several wooden crates are tied securely beside the main mast. Its sails show signs of a long voyage. Perhaps it has already crossed half the Atlantic. Perhaps its crew is tired. Perhaps they are looking forward to reaching port. None of them knows they are being watched. The quartermaster walks among the crew. He checks every musket, every pistol, every powder horn. Then he quietly reminds everyone of the captain's standing order. No unnecessary violence. If they surrender, they live. Every sailor nods. Experienced pirates understand something many stories forget. A battle always carries risk. A peaceful surrender is better for everyone. The afternoon breeze grows stronger. Both ships begin moving faster. The pirate vessel now sits directly behind the merchant brig, using the same favorable wind. The captain waits. Still no black flag. Still no attack. Patience. The sun slowly begins falling toward the western horizon. Golden light spreads across the sea, making it difficult for the merchant crew to clearly identify the ship following them. The captain smiles. This is our moment. He raises one hand. The signal is given. Within seconds, sailors pull hard on thick ropes. The hidden black flag climbs rapidly up the mast. As it catches the evening wind, it unfolds high above the ship.
Across the water, everything changes. The merchant crew freezes. One sailor points toward the flag. Another begins ringing the ship's bell. The captain of the brig rushes onto the quarterdeck with his telescope. He sees the black banner clearly now. There is no mistake. A pirate ship is closing in. The merchant crew immediately changes course, hoping he'd stake. But it is already too late. The pirate vessel has the wind. Its lighter hull cuts smoothly through the waves. Minute by minute, the distance grows smaller. 300 yards. 200. 100. The merchant captain orders more sail raised. His crew works desperately. But fear spreads quickly. Some sailors glance toward the pirate ship. Others whisper among themselves. They know what could happen if a battle begins. The pirate captain calmly walks to the bow. He lifts a speaking trumpet to his mouth. His voice carries clearly across the water. Strike your colors. Surrender peacefully. No harm will come to your crew. For several long moments, only the wind answers. The merchant captain stands motionless. Every man aboard both ships waits for his decision. Will he fight? Or will he surrender? The entire sea seems to hold its breath. For what feels like an eternity, neither ship moves. The merchant captain stands on his quarterdeck, his hands firmly upon the wooden railing. Around him, frightened sailors wait silently, watching his face for a decision. The pirate ship continues closing the distance. Not racing, not firing. Simply moving forward with quiet confidence. The captain beside you lowers his speaking trumpet and says nothing more. He has made his offer. Now the choice belongs to the other man. The wind whistles softly through the rigging. The sea remains calm. Then, slowly, the merchant captain removes his hat. He turns toward his own crew and gives a short command. Within moments, several sailors begin lowering their flag. The colorful banner slowly slides down the mast until it disappears from view. A sigh of relief spreads across both ships. The captain nods once. No firing, he says. Prepare to board. Several grappling hooks are carried to the rail, but they are used only to hold the ship safely together. The vessels drift alongside one another with surprising gentleness. Thick ropes are tied between them. Wide wooden planks are carefully laid across the narrow gap. The quartermaster steps across first. Not with his sword drawn, but carrying a small leather notebook. Behind him walk a handful of armed sailors. Their weapons remain lowered. The merchant crew quietly gathers near the main mast exactly as instructed. No shouting fills the air. No desperate fighting. Only nervous silence. The quartermaster removes his hat and greets the merchant captain politely. Good evening, Captain. The merchant captain answers with a tired nod. Neither man appears surprised. Encounters like this had happened many times during the Golden Age of Piracy. The cargo hold is opened. A lantern is lowered into the darkness. Inside are neatly stacked barrels of sugar, tobacco leaves packed tightly into wooden crates, rolls of fine cloth from Europe, and several heavy chests secured with iron locks. The quartermaster begins writing. Every barrel is counted. Every crate is recorded. Nothing is taken without keeping track. Pirate crews depended upon fairness. If even one sailor believed treasure was being hidden, trust aboard the ship could disappear overnight. While the officers inspect the cargo,
The sea is calm once again. For 3 peaceful days, nothing disturbs the endless blue horizon. The pirate ship sails steadily beneath clear skies, driven by a warm Caribbean breeze. The crew settles back into its familiar routine, as though the recent capture of the merchant brig had been just another ordinary day. Yet, beneath the calm surface, everyone knows something important. Good fortune rarely lasts forever. Every successful capture increases the chance that nearby governors, merchants, and naval commanders will hear about your ship. News travels surprisingly fast across the Caribbean. Merchant captains speak in every harbor. Letters cross the Atlantic aboard packet ships. Within weeks, descriptions of pirate vessels often reach Royal Navy officers stationed hundreds of miles away. The captain understands this better than anyone. Just after sunrise, he gathers the crew around the main mast. His expression is serious. Our supplies are better, he says. Our cargo hold is fuller. But so is our reputation. Several older pirates quietly nod. The captain continues. From today onward, assume that every naval officer in these waters would gladly hang every one of us. No one laughs. Every sailor has seen the wooden gallows standing near busy colonial ports. Many have watched captured pirates meet their final moments there. The warning needs no further explanation. The ship changes course once again. Instead of remaining along the busiest trade routes, the captain leads the crew toward a chain of small islands where countless narrow channels weave between reefs and rocky shores. These waters are difficult to navigate. Large naval ships avoid them whenever possible. Their deep hulls risk running aground. Smaller pirate vessels, however, can move through them with much greater confidence. The navigator studies his chart carefully. This passage is dangerous. The captain smiles slightly, which makes it useful. Throughout the morning, the lookout remains in the crow's nest. His telescope never leaves the horizon. Every sail matters now. Every distant shape could mean opportunity or disaster. By midday, the weather becomes unusually warm. The sea is so calm that the pirate ship seems to glide effortlessly across polished glass. Flying fish leap ahead of the bow. Sea turtles drift lazily near the surface. For a brief moment, the Caribbean appears almost peaceful enough to make someone forget its dangers. Then, the lookout suddenly calls down, "Sail to the northeast." Every sailor freezes. The captain immediately raises his telescope. Far away, barely visible through the bright afternoon sunlight, a single ship moves steadily across the horizon. It is impossible to identify at first. Merchant vessel? Fishing boat? Naval patrol? The captain watches for nearly a full minute. Finally, he lowers the telescope. His face remains unreadable. It's too early to tell. No unnecessary risks. The pirate ship reduces sail slightly. Instead of approaching directly, it quietly changes course, allowing the unknown vessel to reveal itself first. Hours pass. Little by little, the mysterious ship grows clearer. The navigator studies it carefully. One mast, then another. Finally, a third. The captain narrows his eyes. A frigate. Silence spreads across the deck. Unlike ordinary merchant ships, frigates are built for one purpose: war. Fast, well-armed, crewed by experienced naval sailors trained specifically to hunt enemies across the sea. The captain continues watching. Then he quietly speaks. "Royal Navy." The words travel through the crew like a cold wind. There is no panic, only immediate action. The black flag is lowered and hidden. Extra weapons disappear below deck. From a distance, the pirate ship must appear as ordinary as possible. The helmsman waits for fresh orders. The captain studies the wind one final time, then points toward a maze of distant islands. "We're going there." The race has begun. The Royal Navy frigate continues to grow larger upon the horizon. At first, it is only a distant shape beneath the afternoon sun, but minute by minute, its outline becomes unmistakable. 3 tall masts, a long, narrow hull built for speed, rows of cannon ports lining both sides of the ship, the bright white ensign fluttering proudly in the wind. There is no doubt now. This is no merchant vessel. It is a hunter, and your ship is the prey. The captain lowers his telescope and calmly folds it shut. There is no fear on his face, only concentration. Every sailor aboard understands that panic is far more dangerous than the enemy itself. The helmsman waits silently. Then the order comes. "Bring us east." The great wheel turns slowly beneath experienced hands. The pirate ship changes course just enough to slip toward a chain of rocky islands scattered across the Caribbean. From a distance, the islands appear peaceful, covered in thick green forests, surrounded by clear blue water. But the navigator knows what lies beneath. Hidden coral reefs, sharp rocks, shallow channels barely deep enough for a small vessel. To an experienced pirate, they offer protection. To a large naval frigate, they can become a deadly trap. The crew immediately begins preparing, not for battle, for escape. Extra weight is moved toward the center of the ship. Loose cargo is secured tightly below deck. Several sailors climb high into the rigging to adjust the sails for maximum speed. Every gust of wind now matters. Behind you, the Royal Navy frigate has noticed the sudden change in course. Its own sails begin unfolding even farther. White canvas fills with wind. The warship accelerates. The chase has begun. The distance between the two ships slowly begins to shrink. 1 mile, 3/4, half a mile. The captain never once looks behind him. Instead, he watches the water ahead. He trusts the lookout to report everything happening astern. The lookout calls down. "They're gaining." The captain simply nods. "I know." There is no anger in his voice, only certainty. He has faced this situation before, many times.
The navigator kneels beside the bow, studying the changing color of the sea. To most people, the ocean appears simply blue, but experienced sailors see much more. Dark blue means deep water. Bright turquoise often hides dangerous coral. Pale green can signal shallow sandbanks. Every change in color tells a story. Every story can save a ship. There, the navigator points toward a narrow opening between two reefs. It'll be close. The captain smiles faintly. Close is enough. The helmsman grips the wheel firmly. The pirate ship heads directly toward the opening. From the deck, it appears impossibly narrow. Sharp rocks rise from both sides. White waves crash against hidden coral beneath the surface. One mistake, one wrong turn, and the voyage ends here forever. The crew falls completely silent. Only the wind fills the sails. Only the sea speaks. The captain raises one hand. Steady. No one breathes. The bow enters the channel. The water beneath suddenly becomes crystal clear. You can see coral formations only a few feet below the hull. The navigator watches every wave, every ripple, every movement of the current. 2 degrees to port. The helmsman obeys instantly. Now, straighten. The ship glides between the reefs with only yards to spare. Several sailors stare over the railing in disbelief. One hidden rock could tear open the wooden hull, yet somehow. The pirate ship passes safely through. Behind you, the Royal Navy frigate slows dramatically. Its captain faces an impossible decision. Follow, and risk destroying the ship, or remain in deep water, and lose the chase. For several long moments, the great warship hesitates. Its sails begin turning. Its speed falls. The pirate captain watches through his telescope. Then, at last, he allows himself a small smile. They won't risk it. The frigate changes course, remaining outside the reef, still watching, still searching, but no longer closing the distance. A quiet wave of relief spreads across your crew. No cheering, no celebration. Only grateful smiles exchanged in the darkness. They know how close they came. Many pirate crews had ended their journeys beneath the guns of ships just like that frigate. Tonight, experience had saved them once again. The captain finally allows one small lantern to be uncovered near the wheel. Its warm glow barely reaches the deck, just enough to read the compass, nothing more. The sails filled gently with the cool night wind. The pirate ship coming south, disappearing into the vast Caribbean. Far behind them, the Royal Navy frigate continues searching empty waters, unaware that its quarry has already vanished into the darkness. You stand quietly beside the rail, looking back toward the distant silhouette of the islands. Only a few weeks ago, you were an ordinary sailor struggling to find honest work. Now, you have survived storms, captured merchant ships, escaped one of the most powerful navies in the world. The sea has changed you. It has taught you patience, discipline, and one lesson every pirate eventually learned. Treasure could be lost, ships could be replaced, but freedom was worth risking everything for. As the endless stars stretch across the silent Caribbean sky, the ship sails onward into another unknown night, where fortune, or fate, may already be waiting beyond the next horizon.
The Caribbean Sea is quiet once again. For several nights after escaping the Royal Navy frigate, the pirate ship sails only under the cover of darkness. During the day, the crew stays far from the busiest shipping lanes, allowing larger merchant fleets to pass unnoticed beyond the horizon. No one complains. Remaining unseen is often the safest victory. The captain has no desire to test his luck twice against the Royal Navy. Instead, he chooses patience. Every morning begins in the same familiar way. The lookout climbs into the crow's nest before sunrise. The navigator compares the compass with the position of the rising sun. The cook prepares another simple breakfast of hard biscuits, smoked fish, and watered ale. Life aboard the ship feels almost peaceful. But beneath that peaceful routine, something else is happening. The cargo hold is nearly full. Barrels of sugar, bundles of tobacco, rolls of fine cloth, several small chests containing silver coins. Every successful voyage creates a new problem. A pirate ship cannot carry treasure forever. Sooner or later, it must be sold. After breakfast, the captain calls a meeting. He spreads another sea chart across the table. This time, instead of pointing toward trade routes, he points toward a small island hidden among dozens of others. There. The quartermaster smiles. Our old friends. Several experienced pirates exchange knowing looks. You quietly ask the sailor standing beside you, "What is this place?" He lowers his voice. A pirate haven. Not every port welcomed pirates. Most colonial governors offered rewards for their capture. Merchant cities refused them entry. Royal Navy ships watched the busiest harbors carefully. But scattered throughout the Caribbean were isolated settlements where pirates could repair ships, buy supplies, and quietly sell captured cargo. Some governors accepted bribes. Some merchants cared only about profit. Gold often changed people's opinions. The captain explains the plan. We'll stay offshore until sunset. No flags, no unnecessary attention. If the harbor is safe, we'll enter after dark. No one argues. Even the youngest sailor understands the danger. A single mistake inside a crowded harbor could end the entire voyage. Throughout the afternoon, excitement slowly spreads across the crew. For weeks, every man has worked without knowing exactly how much treasure had been collected. Soon they may finally learn. The quartermaster unlocks the strong wooden chest containing his ledger. Every captured barrel, every crate, every silver coin, every expense, everything has been carefully recorded. Fairness is one of the strongest rules aboard a pirate ship. A dishonest captain might steal from his own crew. A wise captain never would. Without trust, there is no crew. As the afternoon fades into evening, the lookout suddenly raises one hand. Land ahead. You climb onto a coil of rope for a better view. Far away, almost hidden beneath the setting sun, a small island slowly appears. Unlike the deserted island visited earlier, this one shows clear signs of life. Thin columns of smoke rise into the evening sky. Several ships sit quietly inside a protected bay. Wooden buildings line the shore. Tiny lights begin appearing one by one as darkness approaches. The captain studies the harbor carefully through his telescope. He counts the ships. 1, 3, 5. Mostly small sloops and merchant vessels. No naval frigates, no large warships. The captain finally smiles. We're welcome tonight. The crew quietly begins preparing the ship. Weapons are stored below deck. The black pirate flag is lowered. In its place, a plain merchant flag rises slowly into the evening breeze. From a distance, the pirate ship now appears to be nothing more than another ordinary trading vessel arriving before nightfall. The sea grows darker. Lanterns begin glowing along the shoreline. Music drifts faintly across the water. After weeks surrounded only by waves and wind, the sound of human voices feels almost unreal. The captain gives one final order. Easy now. No trouble. We're guests. The anchor remains raised. The sails catch the gentle evening breeze. Slowly, silently, the pirate ship enters the hidden harbor. And for the first time in many weeks, home, even if only for a little while, lies just ahead. The pirate ship glides slowly into the sheltered harbor. The water here is calm, protected by high cliffs and a ring of coral reefs that hide the entrance from passing ships. Lanterns hang from wooden docks, their reflections dancing gently across the dark water. Small fishing boats rock quietly beside larger merchant vessels, while the smell of roasted meat, burning firewood, and sea salt drifts across the bay. After weeks at sea, the sight feels almost magical. The captain waits until the anchor is firmly set. Only then does he give permission for the crew to go ashore. Stay in groups, he says. And remember, we're leaving at sunrise. Everyone nods. Pirates knew better than to become too comfortable on land. The sea was dangerous. But ports could be even more dangerous. You climb into a small rowing boat with several other sailors. The oars dip silently until the boat reaches the wooden pier. For the first time in many weeks, your boots touch solid ground. The dock is alive with activity. Fishermen unload baskets filled with fresh fish. Shipwrights repair damaged hulls beneath the glow of oil lamps. Merchants push heavy carts loaded with barrels and crates. Sailors from many different nations walk the narrow streets together. English, French, Dutch, Spanish. On the sea they may have been enemies. Here, business comes first. The quartermaster leads the way through the busy harbor. Hidden beneath ordinary canvas covers are several small chests of silver coins and bundles of valuable tobacco captured during earlier voyages. They stop outside a large warehouse built from thick stone blocks. Its owner is an elderly merchant with gray hair and careful eyes. He studies the cargo quietly before inviting everyone inside. No loud bargaining begins, no dramatic arguments, only calm business. The merchant opens each crate one by one. He checks the quality of the tobacco leaves. He tastes the sugar. He measures the cloth. Finally, he unlocks a heavy wooden chest filled with silver coins. Payment is counted carefully. Every coin is examined. Counterfeit money was common during this period, and experienced traders trusted nothing without checking it first. When the deal is finished, both men shake hands. The cargo changes owners. The silver belongs to the crew. Outside, the streets have become even busier. Music flows from nearby taverns. Laughter echoes to the narrow alleys. Blacksmiths continue working late into the evening, repairing anchors, horseshoes, and iron fittings for passing ships.
The ship's carpenter disappears into a timber yard, searching for strong oak planks needed for future repairs. Nearby, the surgeon visits a local herbalist to replace the medicines used during the voyage. Fresh bandages, dried herbs, small glass bottles filled with homemade remedies. Even pirates depended upon skilled craftsmen. Without them, no voyage could last very long. Later that evening, the captain calls the entire crew together inside a quiet warehouse. The quartermaster places his thick ledger upon a table. Every sailor gathers around. The room becomes completely silent. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for. One by one, the quartermaster reads every item recorded since leaving port. The merchant brig, the barrels of sugar, the tobacco, the silver, the cost of repairing sails, the food purchased before sailing, the medicine. Nothing is hidden, nothing is forgotten. When the calculations are finally complete, small cloth bags filled with silver coins are placed upon the table. Each sailor receives his agreed share. Not equal for everyone. The captain earns more. The quartermaster receives a little extra. The carpenter, the surgeon, the navigator. Each skilled position carries a different reward. But every man receives something. You hold your own small bag of silver for the first time. It is heavier than you expected. For weeks, every repaired sail, every sleepless night, every dangerous moment, has led to this simple reward. An older pirate notices you smiling. He laughs softly. Don't spend it all before tomorrow. Around the room, several sailors quietly chuckle. They have seen many young pirates earn fortunes and lose them in a single night. Outside, the harbor continues glowing beneath the stars. Somewhere beyond the dark entrance to the bay, the endless Caribbean still waits. And with it, another voyage, another storm, another uncertain tomorrow. The night grows deeper over the quiet harbor. Lanterns sway gently outside the taverns, casting long reflections across the still water. Music drifts through the narrow streets, mixed with the sound of distant laughter and the steady creaking of ships tied to the docks. For the first time in many weeks, the crew has no urgent to be. No lookout scans the horizon. No storm threatens the sails. No enemy ship waits beyond the waves. For one peaceful evening, the sea can rest. The captain allows everyone a few hours of freedom, but his instructions remain clear. Be back before dawn, and stay out of trouble. Most sailors know those rules well. A careless night ashore has ended many successful voyages. You walk slowly through the harbor with several members of the crew. The streets are narrow, their surfaces worn smooth by years of wagon wheels and countless stepfoots. Small workshops remain open despite the late hour. A blacksmith's hammer echoes against glowing iron, while a cooper carefully repairs wooden barrels that will soon carry fresh water and food back to waiting ships. A sailmaker works by candlelight, stitching heavy canvas with thick linen thread. Every sail he finishes may someday cross the Atlantic Ocean. Farther along the waterfront, fishermen quietly mend their nets beneath hanging lanterns. Life continues here whether pirates arrive or not. Near the center of the settlement stands a busy tavern. Its wooden sign creaks gently in the evening breeze. Inside, sailors from many nations share long wooden tables. Some speak English. Others speak French, Dutch, or Spanish. Most understand only a few words of each other's language. Yet somehow everyone understands the language of the sea. Stories travel from table to table. One sailor describes a hurricane that carried his ship hundreds of miles off course. Another remembers seeing whales larger than any vessel afloat. An elderly navigator speaks about crossing the Atlantic using nothing but the stars and a compass. No one knows whether every story is true. That hardly matters. The sea has always been a place where fact and legend sail side by side. The captain sits quietly in one corner, speaking with a local merchant. Maps are spread across the table. Trade routes are discussed. Rumors are exchanged. Which ports are crowded? Where has the Royal Navy been seen recently? Which governors are increasing rewards for pirate captains? Information can be worth far more than treasure. A captain who knows where danger waits often lives much longer than one who sails blindly. Outside, the ship's carpenter supervises workers loading fresh timber aboard the ship. Nearby, the quartermaster oversees.
The Caribbean Sea is quiet once again. For several nights after escaping the Royal Navy frigate, the pirate ship sails only under the cover of darkness. During the day, the crew stays far from the busiest shipping lanes, allowing larger merchant fleets to pass unnoticed beyond the horizon. No one complains. Remaining unseen is often the safest victory. The captain has no desire to test his luck twice against the Royal Navy. Instead, he chooses patience. Every morning begins in the same familiar way. The lookout climbs into the crow's nest before sunrise. The navigator compares the compass with the position of the rising sun. The cook prepares another simple breakfast of hard biscuits, smoked fish, and watered ale. Life aboard the ship feels almost peaceful. But beneath that peaceful routine, something else is happening. The cargo hold is nearly full. barrels of sugar, bundles of tobacco, rolls of fine cloth, several small chests containing silver coins. Every successful voyage creates a new problem. A pirate ship cannot carry treasure forever. Sooner or later, it must be sold. After breakfast, the captain calls a meeting. He spreads another sea chart across the table. This time, instead of pointing toward trade routes, he points toward a small island hidden among dozens of others. There. The quartermaster smiles. Our old friends. Several experienced pirates exchange knowing looks. You quietly ask the sailor standing beside you, "What is this place?" He lowers his voice. "A pirate haven." Not every port welcomed pirates. Most colonial governors offered rewards for their capture. Merchant cities refused them entry. Royal Navy ships watched the busiest harbors carefully. But scattered throughout the Caribbean were isolated settlements where pirates could repair ships, buy supplies, and quietly sell captured cargo. Some governors accepted bribes. Some merchants cared only about profit. Gold often changed people's opinions. The captain explains the plan. We'll stay offshore until sunset. No flags, no unnecessary attention. If the harbor is safe, we'll enter after dark. No one argues. Even the youngest sailor understands the danger. A single mistake inside a crowded harbor could end the entire voyage. Throughout the afternoon, excitement slowly spreads across the crew. For weeks, every man has worked without knowing exactly how much treasure had been collected. Soon they may finally learn. The quartermaster unlocks the strong wooden chest containing his ledger. Every captured barrel, every crate, every silver coin, every expense, everything has been carefully recorded. Fairness is one of the strongest rules aboard a pirate ship. A dishonest captain might steal from his own crew. A wise captain never would. Without trust, there is no crew. As the afternoon fades into evening, the lookout suddenly raises one hand. Land ahead. You climb onto a coil of rope for a better view. Far away, almost hidden beneath the setting sun, a small island slowly appears. Unlike the deserted island visited earlier, this one shows clear signs of life. Thin columns of smoke rise into the evening sky. Several ships sit quietly inside a protected bay. Wooden buildings line the shore. Tiny lights begin appearing one by one as darkness approaches. The captain studies the harbor carefully through his telescope. He counts the ships. 1, 3, 5. Mostly small sloops and merchant vessels. No naval frigates, no large warships. The captain finally smiles. We're welcome tonight. The crew quietly begins preparing the ship. Weapons are stored below deck. The black pirate flag is lowered. In its place, a plain merchant flag rises slowly into the evening breeze. From a distance, the pirate ship now appears to be nothing more than another ordinary trading vessel arriving before nightfall. The sea grows darker. Lanterns begin glowing along the shoreline. Music drifts faintly across the water. After weeks surrounded only by waves and wind, the sound of human voices feels almost unreal. The captain gives one final order. Easy now. No trouble. We're guests. The anchor remains raised. The sails catch the gentle evening breeze. Slowly, silently, the pirate ship enters the hidden harbor. And for the first time in many weeks, home, even if only for a little while, lies just ahead. The pirate ship glides slowly into the sheltered harbor. The water here is calm, protected by high cliffs and a ring of coral reefs that hide the entrance from passing ships. Lanterns hang from wooden docks, their reflections dancing gently across the dark water. Small fishing boats rock quietly beside larger merchant vessels, while the smell of roasted meat, burning firewood, and sea salt drifts across the bay. After weeks at sea, the sight feels almost magical. The captain waits until the anchor is firmly set. Only then does he give permission for the crew to go ashore. Stay in groups, he says. And remember, we're leaving at sunrise. Everyone nods. Pirates knew better than to become too comfortable on land. The sea was dangerous. But ports could be even more dangerous. You climb into a small rowing boat with several other sailors. The oars dip silently until the boat reaches the wooden pier. For the first time in many weeks, your boots touch solid ground. The dock is alive with activity. Fishermen unload baskets filled with fresh fish. Shipwrights repair damaged hulls beneath the glow of oil lamps. Merchants push heavy carts loaded with barrels and crates. Sailors from many different nations walk the narrow streets together. English, French, Dutch, Spanish. On the sea they may have been enemies. Here, business comes first. The quartermaster leads the way through the busy harbor.
Hidden beneath ordinary canvas covers are several small chests of silver coins and bundles of valuable tobacco captured during earlier voyages. They stop outside a large warehouse built from thick stone blocks. Its owner is an elderly merchant with gray hair and careful eyes. He studies the cargo quietly before inviting everyone inside. No loud bargaining begins, no dramatic arguments, only calm business. The merchant opens each crate one by one. He checks the quality of the tobacco leaves. He tastes the sugar. He measures the cloth. Finally, he unlocks a heavy wooden chest filled with silver coins. Payment is counted carefully. Every coin is examined. Counterfeit money was common during this period, and experienced traders trusted nothing without checking it first. When the deal is finished, both men shake hands. The cargo changes owners. The silver belongs to the crew. Outside, the streets have become even busier. Music flows from nearby taverns. Laughter echoes to the narrow alleys. Blacksmiths continue working late into the evening, repairing anchors, horseshoes, and iron fittings for passing ships. The ship's carpenter disappears into a timber yard, searching for strong oak planks needed for future repairs. Nearby, the surgeon visits a local herbalist to replace the medicines used during the voyage. Fresh bandages, dried herbs, small glass bottles filled with homemade remedies. Even pirates depended upon skilled craftsmen. Without them, no voyage could last very long. Later that evening, the captain calls the entire crew together inside a quiet warehouse. The quartermaster places his thick ledger upon a table. Every sailor gathers around. The room becomes completely silent. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for. One by one, the quartermaster reads every item recorded since leaving port. The merchant brig, the barrels of sugar, the tobacco, the silver, the cost of repairing sails, the food purchased before sailing, the medicine. Nothing is hidden, nothing is forgotten. When the calculations are finally complete, small cloth bags filled with silver coins are placed upon the table. Each sailor receives his agreed share. Not equal for everyone. The captain earns more. The quartermaster receives a little extra. The carpenter, the surgeon, the navigator. Each skilled position carries a different reward. But every man receives something. You hold your own small bag of silver for the first time. It is heavier than you expected. For weeks, every repaired sail, every sleepless night, every dangerous moment, has led to this simple reward. An older pirate notices you smiling. He laughs softly. Don't spend it all before tomorrow. Around the room, several sailors quietly chuckle. They have seen many young pirates earn fortunes and lose them in a single night. Outside, the harbor continues glowing beneath the stars. Somewhere beyond the dark entrance to the bay, the endless Caribbean still waits. And with it, another voyage, another storm, another uncertain tomorrow. The night grows deeper over the quiet harbor. Lanterns sway gently outside the taverns, casting long reflections across the still water. Music drifts through the narrow streets, mixed with the sound of distant laughter and the steady creaking of ships tied to the docks. For the first time in many weeks, the crew has no urgent to be. No lookout scans the horizon. No storm threatens the sails. No enemy ship waits beyond the waves. For one peaceful evening, the sea can rest. The captain allows everyone a few hours of freedom, but his instructions remain clear. Be back before dawn, and stay out of trouble. Most sailors know those rules well. A careless night ashore has ended many successful voyages. You walk slowly through the harbor with several members of the crew. The streets are narrow, their surfaces worn smooth by years of wagon wheels and countless stepfoots. Small workshops remain open despite the late hour. A blacksmith's hammer echoes against glowing iron, while a cooper carefully repairs wooden barrels that will soon carry fresh water and food back to waiting ships. A sailmaker works by candlelight, stitching heavy canvas with thick linen thread. Every sail he finishes may someday cross the Atlantic Ocean. Farther along the waterfront, fishermen quietly mend their nets beneath hanging lanterns. Life continues here whether pirates arrive or not. Near the center of the settlement stands a busy tavern. Its wooden sign creaks gently in the evening breeze. Inside, sailors from many nations share long wooden tables. Some speak English. Others speak French, Dutch, or Spanish. Most understand only a few words of each other's language. Yet somehow everyone understands the language of the sea. Stories travel from table to table. One sailor describes a hurricane that carried his ship hundreds of miles off course. Another remembers seeing whales larger than any vessel afloat. An elderly navigator speaks about crossing the Atlantic using nothing but the stars and a compass. No one knows whether every story is true. That hardly matters. The sea has always been a place where fact and legend sail side by side. The captain sits quietly in one corner, speaking with a local merchant. Maps are spread across the table. Trade routes are discussed. Rumors are exchanged. Which ports are crowded? Where has the Royal Navy been seen recently? Which governors are increasing rewards for pirate captains? Information can be worth far more than treasure. A captain who knows where danger waits often lives much longer than one who sails blindly. Outside, the ship's carpenter supervises workers loading fresh timber aboard the ship. Nearby, the quartermaster oversees.
Morning arrives slowly over the Caribbean. The stars fade one by one as the eastern horizon begins glowing with soft shades of orange and gold. A gentle breeze fills the sails, carrying the pirate ship steadily westward across calm blue water. The glowing sea from the previous night already feels like a dream. Life aboard the ship returns to its familiar rhythm. The night watch is relieved. Fresh water is passed around the deck. The cook prepares breakfast while smoke rises carefully from the small galley chimney. Today, the meal is better than usual. Fresh fish caught yesterday is served alongside hard biscuits and slices of tropical fruit that have somehow remained fresh since leaving the harbor. Small comforts like these make long voyages easier. After breakfast, the captain notices several younger sailors gathered near the bow. Instead of working, they are quietly talking among themselves. He walks over. "What are you discussing?" One sailor answers honestly, "Treasure." The captain smiles. Everyone talks about treasure, but very few understand it. He tells everyone to gather near the main mast. Soon the entire crew forms a circle around him. The morning lessons begin. "You've heard stories," the captain says. "Hidden caves, buried gold, maps marked with a giant X." Several sailors grin. The captain shakes his head. Forget most of those stories. He explains that real pirates almost never buried treasure. Gold and silver were difficult to hide safely. Coins were heavy, jewels were easy to steal. Most pirate crews divided their rewards soon after returning to a safe port. Each sailor received his share, then he spent it however he wished. Some bought better clothing, others purchased new weapons. Many simply enjoyed a few weeks of comfort before returning to sea. The quartermaster opens one of the small chests kept below deck. Inside lie hundreds of silver coins, no glowing jewels, no golden crowns, no magical artifacts. Simply money. "This," he says, "is what treasure usually looked like." The crew nods quietly. Reality is often less dramatic than legends. Still, silver coins could change a man's life. A skilled sailor might earn more during one successful voyage than many ordinary workers earned in several years. That possibility drew countless young men toward piracy, not because they dreamed of becoming famous, because they hoped for a better future. As the lesson ends, the navigator suddenly calls the captain. He has spotted something floating in the distance. The ship changes course slightly. Slowly, the object becomes clearer. It is not another ship, not driftwood, not a whale. It is a small wooden boat, completely alone. The pirate ship approaches cautiously. Inside the boat sits a single exhausted man. His clothes are soaked with seawater. His face is burned red beneath the tropical sun. His lips are cracked from thirst. He barely has enough strength to raise one hand. The captain immediately gives an order. "Bring him aboard." Several sailors carefully lift the stranger onto the deck. The surgeon rushes forward. Fresh water is given slowly. Too much at once could make him dangerously ill. The cook prepares warm broth instead of solid food. The man drinks carefully before finally speaking. His voice is weak. "My ship," he pauses to catch his breath, "sank." Silence falls across the deck. No one asks unnecessary questions. Every sailor aboard knows one simple truth. Tomorrow, it could just as easily be them. The rescued sailor looks around the deck. Pirates, men he had once feared, yet today, those same men have become the reason he is still alive. Sometimes, the sea reminds everyone that survival matters more than labels. It felt as though the entire ocean had stopped breathing. Then the sky changed.
Dark clouds appeared so quickly that we barely had time to lower the sails. They didn't drift in from far away. They seemed to rise straight out of the sea. The captain nodded silently. Tropical storms often formed with terrifying speed. Even experienced sailors could be caught by surprise. The first wind struck like a hammer. Our mainsail tore almost instantly. The mast groaned so loudly, I thought the whole ship would split apart. The rescued sailor lowers his eyes. We tried to turn into the waves, but they were already too high. He stretched out one hand, showing just how enormous they became. Each wave looked like a moving cliff. Our ship climbed one, then crashed down the other side, again and again. The crew listens without interrupting. Every sailor aboard has faced rough seas. Many have lost friends to storms. One older pirate quietly removes his hat. The rescued sailor continues. The rain became so heavy I couldn't even see the man standing beside me. The wind stole every shouted order. We could see the captain's mouth moving, but hear nothing. The sea had become louder than any human voice. He pauses for a long moment, then speaks even softer. Near midnight, a giant wave struck our starboard side. The ship rolled farther than I believed possible. Barrels broke loose, cannons tore free from their ropes. They rolled across the deck like monsters. Several pirates exchanged serious looks. A loose cannon was one of the greatest dangers aboard a wooden sailing ship. Weighing over 2 tons, it could crush men, destroy support beams, and smash through the hull itself. The main mast snapped. It didn't crack, it exploded. The top half crashed across the deck. Several sailors disappeared beneath it. I never saw them again. The deck falls completely silent. Even the sound of the wind seems distant now. The rescued sailor closes his eyes. When daylight finally came, there was no ship, only broken wood floating everywhere. I found the little boat drifting nearby. I climbed inside, and then I waited. For 3 days, there was only the sun and the sea. I stopped counting the hours. I wasn't sure anyone would ever find me. The captain looks at the exhausted man for several moments before quietly speaking. But someone did. The rescued sailor nods. Yes. He glances around the deck. Pirates. Men he had once feared. Yet today, those same men have become the reason he is still alive. Sometimes, the sea reminds everyone that survival matters more than labels. It felt as though the entire ocean had stopped breathing. Then the sky changed. Dark clouds appeared so quickly that we barely had time to lower the sails. They didn't drift in from far away. They seemed to rise straight out of the sea. The captain nodded silently. Tropical storms often formed with terrifying speed. Even experienced sailors could be caught by surprise. The first wind struck like a hammer. Our mainsail tore almost instantly. The mast groaned so loudly, I thought the whole ship would split apart. The rescued sailor lowers his eyes. We tried to turn into the waves, but they were already too high. He stretched out one hand, showing just how enormous they became. Each wave looked like a moving cliff. Our ship climbed one, then crashed down the other side, again and again. The crew listens without interrupting. Every sailor aboard has faced rough seas. Many have lost friends to storms. One older pirate quietly removes his hat. The rescued sailor continues. The rain became so heavy I couldn't even see the man standing beside me. The wind stole every shouted order. We could see the captain's mouth moving, but hear nothing. The sea had become louder than any human voice. He pauses for a long moment, then speaks even softer. Near midnight, a giant wave struck our starboard side. The ship rolled farther than I believed possible. Barrels broke loose, cannons tore free from their ropes. They rolled across the deck like monsters. Several pirates exchanged serious looks. A loose cannon was one of the greatest dangers aboard a wooden sailing ship. Weighing over 2 tons, it could crush men, destroy support beams, and smash through the hull itself. The main mast snapped. It didn't crack, it exploded. The top half crashed across the deck. Several sailors disappeared beneath it. I never saw them again. The deck falls completely silent. Even the sound of the